What's up, world? Welcome back once again to the CHGO Sky Show presented by CHGO Sports and the ALLCITY Sports Network. Thank you all for coming in and listening. Make sure to give us a follow on Twitter at CHGO_Sky. Hit the like on YouTube, and thank you for joining us for our special show celebrating Angel Reese's All-Star selection and Rookie of the Month campaign in the month of June. I'm Chris Pennant, alongside the co-host Stephen Pridge and Garner, the best X's and O's man this side of the Mississippi River. And we got a special guest in today to talk hoop with us, the one, the only LaSalle and Norfolk State graduate, Siobhan Beslow. I would wager to say, and Stephen, you can say it, you can respond to this, the best basketball player we got on the show right now.
I mean, I could see that for sure. She got a track record.
Sweet. Hello, you all. Hi, Chris. Hi, Stephen.
What's good? What's good? How you feeling today?
I'm good. It's a good day. Hot out, but it's a good day. How are y'all?
I'm blessed as always.
Enjoy.
Looking forward to talking about the dominant force in a rookie that the Sky got at the 7th pick. So,
oh boy,
that's the amazing thing, right? Like it's such a scrutinized selection. They gave up a lot to get, move up one spot, and then you bring that to Angel yesterday, talking about how thankful she was that the Sky landed her with the 7th pick, and it says a lot because I know that the organization was thankful that they got her at that pick.
They're thankful and also blessed because you don't usually get a Grand Slam type of player at the 7th pick, considering everybody has the same access to film and scouting, especially with the draft that's as highly touted with so many players to have impact as this one has. So the fact that Jeff Pagliuca and company were able to put their eggs all in one basket, banking on first getting Camilla, and then knowing that they would have Angel available at that 7, to which is the reason why they traded up to make sure that they would be able to make that selection. Everything fell in alignment exactly how they desired for it to, and I think they would take the results if you told them this is how things went through her first month and some change of her rookie campaign in the W.
Yeah, it's like you got all of the production that you've gotten from her on the court, but then you've gotten this like cultural galvanization around this kid, and people just love her. She's good with the public. She's great with kids. Like you just got a literal, like franchise linchpin at 7. And like you said, Stephen, I'm sure they wouldn't have hoped to have done any better than what she's been able to give them so far from a holistic standpoint.
But before we get into the stats, because the stats speak for themselves, I've asked this question on the CHGO Sky account, and I kind of want to hear from y'all. Did you expect this? Did you expect this much from Angel at this point in the season, much less her career? Because I can't say that I was banking on her getting an all-star selection. I figured that she would do well. I knew that she was going to have a good motor, good energy. And we saw early on how much of a team player she was in terms of chemistry and just keeping everybody on and focused as a rookie. But I don't know if I expected her to put up the numbers she did in June and to get the All-Star nod.
Go ahead, Siobhan.
Oh, I was going to let you take it. Yeah, no, frankly, honestly, no. But it was from, okay, so the motor, all of those things, the motor, the rebounding, the teamwork, the leadership, all of those things, easily translatable things. The leadership to an extent, do people really want to hear a rookie's voice in the locker room? Depends on what she's saying, how she's saying it. They seem to, be cool with all of that. So all of those things I definitely saw transferring. As someone who, kind of was like a great offensive rebounder in my own right, that's just will, that's just want to, that's timing, that's leverage, kind of all of those things. Some of what I haven't expected, though, truthfully, is and the numbers show that she still has some work, some finishing work. There are definitely things that she needs cleaning up. I've talked a lot about that kind of on my own Twitter, but I didn't expect her to be able to be as effective as she has shown to be, even with some of the stuff that is still limiting her, right? She shoots that underhand scoop layup. She doesn't really get a guard arm to the ball. She's still kind of raw athletically. And that was where I thought some of the 4s, the 5s, just what the W kind of already has, had at home, I thought that she would struggle with that a little bit. And then she has in spots, but for me personally, she has been more effective than I thought that she would be, and kind of more consistently. Again, numbers and finishing and some of that stuff, the putback numbers, some of that stuff, definitely still needs cleaning up, but she's exceeded what I thought that she would be able to do this soon.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off of that, I didn't expect her to have this thorough and this comprehensive of an impact this early, like literally a month and a half into her rookie campaign, and she's already having an elite level, all-star level impact, not just in the numbers, but also seeing that she quite literally got selected to the all-star team this season. That I don't think anybody could have said that they expected it to this extent, and I think just the consistency in it all, and the consistency on, like Siobhan just said, also still being learning, eager to learn, and also being able to learn lessons shortly thereafter the lesson was presented to her. Talk about Tina Charles telling her be patient. Quite literally, the next game, we see her playing off of 2 feet, like we talked about on the podcast the week before, Chris, and not just playing off of 2 feet, but also doing it with intent, getting up pump fakes, being patient, and then finding the angles through the contact. Yes, and being able to find the angles through contact from there, and being able to get to the and one finishes. And then, like she talked about, another lesson that was learned early in the season, not just getting to the free throw line, that's just half the battle, but you got to cash in. And to see the jump in free throw percentage from May to June, in addition to the volume of free throw attempts that she's generating from her drives, from her offensive rebounds, from the patience off of the catch, those little things just really speak to someone that's not just saying that she's a student of the game, but you can quite literally see in the attention to detail coming from film sessions and work with the skill development staff for the Chicago Sky, all adding up in real time. And it's all adding up and turning into this player that is becoming a team almost in and of herself, the way that she gets after it on the glass, galvanizes the troops, like Siobhan said, the leadership, literally and figuratively, by word of mouth and by action. To get this from a rookie is just eons ahead of the schedule in terms of where you could potentially have expected for her to be so far.
Chris, Steven, you know what else I didn't expect? Like the open floor one-on-one, like she's sitting down and she's poking stuff free. Like she got a poke on DeWine, I think she got a poke on Alyssa. She's holding her own kind of in some of the limited like jump switchy one-on-one kind of on an island a little bit type of moment. So definitely that, and like you said, the free throw shooting. Once she cleans up like some of the other stuff and continues the volume of like free throw attempts she's getting, like she can be whatever she wants to be. The sky is like truly the limit for where she could go. I didn't want to do it, but
it's inevitable. It's inevitable.
It's always there. Yeah, it's gonna come up at least once a show. Really? Seriously. But like y'all are right. The free throw shooting is something that I've looked at as being such a big jump so quickly. That first game she was 2 for 8 from the line. Then even the next game she was 5 for 7, then 7 for 9. But even if you look at from June to now, she's shooting 78%, getting to the line about 3 times a game. Her foul numbers have gone down. She had, I think, 5 personal fouls 2 or 3 times in the first month of the season. That's only happened once since then. She's about 3 fouls a game. Her turnovers, considering her usage rate, are astronomically low. And that's still, the fact that she does get her shot blocked still at a higher rate than anybody in the league. That's what's so impressive. Like, she's been able to make this kind of a jump offensively in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, and I would like to point out for the people, I'm going to just go ahead and preface it. I'm going to just get straight to it. All of the talk that all she does is grab her own misses, and that's what is amounting to her double-double record. Let's go ahead and apply the context. So if you guys are choosing to not watch the games and see the impact and that she's having on both sides of the floor and the glass, let's provide the context and then allow for you to go back and rewatch and then see what your assessment of it is. Are you going to play the game online, or are you going to actually assess what's actually going on? So through the month of June, can you two answer this question for me? Who was it that led the league in defensive rebounds?
I feel like it's Angel Reese.
Yeah, I was going to say, this sounds like a leading question.
Correct. Angel Reese led the entire W in defensive rebounding in the month of June. 8.3
defensive rebounding, not her own.
Defensive rebounds. Correct.
Yes.
Correct. So now I'm gonna flip the question and ask: do you all know who led the league in offensive rebounding in the month of June?
I'm gonna go a different route. I'm gonna say Angel Reese.
Correct, with 4.9. So that combined for 13.2 rebounds in total per game to go with the double-double that she averaged over the month of June. It's not just one side of the ball. It's not just the hot takes on Twitter. That's how she's going about stamping her impact on the game. When I say it's comprehensive, it's literally in every single category. I mean, she even averaged a steal and a half a game in addition to everything else that she's doing in terms of impact outside of just scoring and just rebounding the basketball. You can't put her in the box, and her stamping on everything that the Sky are doing identity-wise is as profound for a rookie that I've seen in the last handful of seasons in the W.
I don't know if it's right or not, and I fact check it at your leisure or whatever. But I saw on Twitter that even if you filter for rebounding her own misses, she's still leading the league in rebounding.
That's wild.
That's silly.
Again, please don't. I didn't tweet that. I saw it. Check it out. Let me know. And if that is the case, then again, impressive.
But honestly, even without fact checking, not that I feel the need to in any capacity, just watching the games, it feels like that. Like that. Yeah. She's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's striking. I think it's just really striking. Braggs, what's up, man? I see you out there. You got something for us?
Mini Braggs jumping in here at the bottom. I think the stat was that if you took away everybody's own rebounds, then she would still lead the league in rebounds.
Okay.
And so that's also the other point. She's not the only person that's getting her own rebounds, and to make that a detriment against someone getting a rebound off a miss, it just still shows the dominance she has underneath the glass and in the paint. Easily.
And when you consider that she's the leading rebounder in the league, not just offensive rebounds, rebounds in total, and that the number 2 rebounder is A'ja Wilson, I think it's even more striking. Like I'm gonna give y'all a real world example. So I'm on Prize Picks, trying to make some money, fill in some gaps, and the Sky have a dream yesterday, and so it's Tina Charles, Cheyenne Parker Tyus, even Alicia Gray gets 4 rebounds a game. And the line on Angel was 13 rebounds, more or less, over under. And so I think, okay, Asia's going to, keep her double-double streak going, but I don't know if she's going to get 13 rebounds. She might get 11, 10, or 12, but I don't know if she'll get 13. So I said I put up some other solid bets, and then was just like, Angel Reese, less than 13 rebounds. She got 19. And I was on a Twitter space this afternoon, and I said that whole thing that I just said now to all of them, and they immediately started cracking up. Like, why would you do that? Like, that's like picking A'ja Wilson under 20 points at this point in time. Like, why would you lose your money like that? And I think it just goes to show that as impressed as I am, she still continues to outpace my expectations and you guys' expectations, like we've talked about. So many other people's expectations. And as I think we're going to get to after this, we get to our ad read in a few seconds, comment that we got in here from Miss Peach, Brad, throw that up there. Angel's mere existence hurts her haters emotionally. They can't control themselves. Keep doing you as Angel as your haters will wither into other, well, you know what that emoji means. There's not much more you can say about that. I think the Angel Reese's sheer willpower as a basketball player is turning people who slighted her a month ago into people at the very least who have a grip for her skills now.
Yeah.
All I gotta say to that is when the hate don't work, they start telling lies, and we start lying about stats on her game. We try to provide the context, and she just continues to hoop and get better. That's it.
This is going to bring us to a break really quick. And so thank you once again for tuning in with us. And we want to take some time to talk about our sponsor, Coors Light. And when the sun heats up, as it has in the Chicago summer, there is no better thing to reach for than an ice-cold Coors Light. You know it's cold when the Rocky Mountains are blue and it's fresh, always fresh, never frozen, cold filtered, just like the Rockies. So when you're having these arguments with Asia Wilson haters and you need to chill, reach for a Coors Light. When you're out at the game and somebody says, well, Caitlin Clark is the rookie of, the best rookie of the year, reach for a nice cold Coors Light. Keep yourself chilled out. That's what we do. That's what I do. And that's what I'm saying that you should try out too. And make the most of the times when you choose to chill, choose Coors Light. Get it delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/CHGO Dunk. Once again, /CHGO Dunk. Always filtered, cold filtered, never frozen Coors Light. Drink responsibly. Coors Light Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. And now for my absolute favorite read that we do about this time for Shady Rays. If you like me and you're not as cool as Siobhan or Steven, you got to make yourself look cool. And the best way to do that is by getting some cool sunglasses, especially in that summertime shot. And there's no better place to do that than Shady Rays. They have quality shades built to last, premium polarized shades that won't break your head, which means you'll be able to afford them without taking out a second mortgage. They're rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. They're durable. If they break on you, heaven forbid, if they do break on you, you can get an exchange for a new pair or return them worry-free within 30 days. No risk when you shop. And exclusively for our listeners on the show, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. So head to ShadyRays.com and use the code CHGO, like we always do about this time, for 35% off polarized sunglasses. So not only are they already affordable, we're giving you another deal on top of that. So try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Shady Rays. Man, I think that comment is so telling, because this race has this rookie of the year race has really come down to Caitlin and Angel. I think that some people might have thought so, but in doing so, the dynamic of the talk around it has changed because of how well she's played. And Siobhan, I want to get your take on that. Like, how do you see that moving forward, especially on the heels of that Rookie of the Month campaign in June, where she averaged 14 and 13?
I think that I would agree with you that at least the tone or the tenor of, what was really, really loud early on has definitely quieted. People who might not have had, the best to say are at least coming around. You can't just flat out call her unskilled. You can't just say that she's just rebounding her own stuff. Like, at some point you have to, or you legitimately like distinguish yourself as a hater. Like, at some point you have to, come to grips with the fact that she is doing, what she's doing. And, you're right. I think Angel and Caitlin have separated themselves early on. It was a maybe a little more condensed of a chunk. Shout out to Cam, speedy recovery there. Rakia, Aaliyah, and DC. There was, some hanger around, but it's Angel and it's Caitlin. And right now, for me, it's Angel. Again, you have the Rookie of the Month thing, and just what she's been able to do, the record. And put a comment up earlier about, not expecting her to get the record and all the double-doubles and all of that. To be where she is double-double wise, I kind of expected some of that. Again, the motor and just 10 points, 4 quarters. She's a starter. She's a big. There was going to be opportunity. But again, the way that she's gone about it and the consecutiveness of it. But, I'm appreciative of the change of some of the talk. And quite frankly, it's almost completely quieted down. And now there's a different type of talk that's brewing up amongst. It's like a Sky post-Civil War a little bit. That's a little odd. But now there are just like other pockets of conversation that's happening that is not the AR and CC stuff that we were just inundated with. And that was really nasty to begin the season. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, I was not necessarily surprised that she come out and ultimately become the player that she is now. I did think that just because Caitlin plays the point guard position, yep, meaning that regardless of what style of offense, she's going to touch the ball and have a handful of dribbles and have some type of say-so and gravity, if not with the ball in her hands, on every single possession she's on the floor, versus being a post where you're reliant on somebody else to get you the ball if you're trying to get it in a post, it's most likely going to come from a screen being set. Did they actually set a real screen, or did your matchup just navigate through it and now you don't have post position? Like, there's a lot, almost kind of looking at it like a running back and a wide receiver if you're looking at it from a fantasy football perspective. A running back is going to touch the ball directly from the quarterback. Not much else is really dependent there. But for a wide receiver, the snap has to get to the quarterback. The quarterback has to have time to get the pass to the person that's supposed to get the ball, and then you have to catch it on top of all that. That's a lot more.
I gotta get open. I gotta run this route well. Like exactly. I gotta hold this defender off. I gotta make sure you set a good screen, seal my.
Yep. Yeah. I hope it's the coverage that we thought when we called the play. Otherwise, it's not gonna be there. Like, there's a lot more factors with it. So just to see the fact that she's had the impact on less usage naturally than Caitlin has, and for her to, like, quite honestly truly feel, seem, and look like, both statistically and on film, the best, most dominant rookie in the league so far. I mean, it just says a whole lot. I think they both are the best players on their respective teams if you're looking at it with how they're going to be looking to build around their respective teams going forward. And I think she's kind of taking ownership of that sooner. And that's no indictment in any capacity to Caitlin Clark. I think it's just the fact that Angel's game in certain capacities has translated to the W level better. She's also more quickly adapted to the physicality, which is naturally a dynamic playing in the paint that's a whole lot more impactful than it is out on the perimeter. And the fact that she's adapted and counterpunched so consistently, and also taking the coverages that she's seeing, and like we talked about in the opening, played and flipped those type of pressure positions into advantages for herself, we're starting to see the results that we're seeing, which is her being just eons ahead of where you could even anticipated, expected, or hoped for her to be heading into July.
Well, and I also think, because Chris was pointing this out in the last show, and this graphic isn't even updated to the last couple games, I believe, if you correct me, Chris. And I think the other part of the equation here is the ascension. You know, in the first 10 games, Angel Reese is getting her feet settled. And I don't know if Caitlin Clark, even though she is improving game to game, there's no question, just like Angel is, but Angel has really started to take off here in the last month, which is why she just won Rookie of the Month. You see it here in the graphic if you're listening on the podcast. First 10 games averaging 11.6 points per game. Now averaging last 5 games, 6 games, 16.4 points per game, going up from 9.5 rebounds to 14 rebounds, 34% from the field to 51.4% from the field. So a huge jump there. And I think that's where, you know, it's easy early in the season to have your front runner, but once somebody makes a big jump like that, I think that's going to catch people's eye a little more than maybe somebody that has been the same throughout the year, even if the same is still impressive in her own right. The other question I wanted to ask you guys too is, I do find it interesting here coming up in this All-Star game that they'll be playing together. You know, everybody's kind of pitted these two players against each other, and they've leaned into the rivalry the last few years. I think that's what's caught a lot of the country's interest in, you know, this game and going from college now to the WNBA level. You know, it's only continued. But how do you think that dynamic now is going to change with these guys, with these girls playing together and, you know, showing a different side where, like, I'd imagine that the rivalry is more serious for people on the outside than it is for actually the two young women.
I agree with that. What you have to say about this, because I know that you played the game at a high level in college. But I mean, this kind of reminds me of the All-Star game where Joakim Noah and LeBron James were on the same team. Noah threw LeBron an oop, and he had already talked about how much he hated the Heat, and, you know, respected them as competitors, but hated LeBron and them boys. But when they were on the same team in the All-Star game, they played together. So Siobhan, I don't think, I highly doubt we would see anything noteworthy. But, you know, what's that experience if you've had it, if where you've had to play on the same team as a competitor that you know, got into it with in the past?
So, a bunch in this. And Region Rev, the selection process was interesting. Shows the WNBA coaches realize their skill. Yes to the coaches part of it, and definitely yes to the interest. We could have a whole separate, like, 30-minute discussion about what happened with All-Star voting. Like, why were the Olympians even there to be voted for? Why? Just, there's a bunch of things. To Bragg's question, you know, I will say it's one game. And they are surrounded by the best of the rest of the WNBA. So you're not you'll have the moments of like, ooh, it's Caitlin AR pick and roll. Like, how's that gonna, what happens there, or whatever. But there'll be extractable moments, but they won't be the focus. And it'll be fun. I don't know that it changes much internally. To your point, Chris, I definitely can see it being, conversation swears. Like, we've seen Caitlin fans have things to say when her Indiana teammates, have a less than desired outcome in a possession. So I can see a bunch of Angel smoke Caitlin's 10th assist. Oh, she's, just all of kind of like that little chatter type of things. But I believe that they respect one another. But I do believe that there is, at least on Angel's part, and I think it's a little bit rightful. I think that there is still some, resentment behind the way that she has been talked about, the way that Caitlin has been talked about, the way that Caitlin's fans have talked about. Like, I still think that there's something in Angel that, like, yeah, we're cool. We're going to have the show. It'll be a game. But end of the day, we are still competitors. We are still, da-da-da-da-da. We have this history. I respect her. She's cool. But, I can respect from afar and keep a healthy level of, competitive fire. And when it's Indiana versus Chicago, it's right back at it. Nothing's changed. I'm trying to send it into orbit, like, and we're just right back at it.
Yeah, I think you both are like just really hit on different parts of it that all kind of bring it full circle. My assessment of it has always been these are two elite level, capital D, all caps dogs. Yeah. Caitlin hates to lose. Angel hates to lose.
Yeah.
Also, neither one of those two plays for the same team. Also, both of those two, just the way that the stars have always aligned, end up in one way or another in the way of the other. What else do you expect when you pin two dogs against each other so consistently? Right. The only way to get a rivalry is when there's familiarity. And when there's familiarity, that's naturally going to create storylines. That's just the way journalism, everything on the media side of things works. We got these two players, every time they go against each other, there's some type of fireworks. It's always a competitive game. It has the draw in terms of attention, and they both genuinely hate to lose. That's what really fire starts everything else that comes down over the course of games with interactions that oftentimes get overassessed. Nonetheless, those are two dogs, and I wouldn't expect anything less. When you pin Kobe Bryant up against any other superstar, you knew there was smoke. When you pin Michael Jordan up against any other superstar, you knew there was smoke. When you pin Diana Taurasi up against any other superstar, there's smoke. Same thing with Candace Parker. Same thing with Maya Moore. You can name any superstar, any person that had a huge draw coming out of their rookie class, even in college, if they went to college. Any player that's going up against another superstar close to age or just generally speaking, they've always wanted to get the best of their opponent. It's just the fact that these two have seen each other so many times, stemming all the way back to high school. If I'm not mistaken, maybe even AAU if I remember correctly. But the fact that they've just gone against each other so consistently, that's what's kind of leading up to what it is now. I think it's great for the league as long as it's continued to be kept basketball. And that's the only plea that I have in it. Keep it basketball. Keep it basketball. It's too much to talk about on the court to let it go elsewhere.
Well, that's interesting too, because when I happened to be in that Twitter space earlier, one of the people that came in when they were talking about the dichotomy between Angel and Caitlin is shout out to Drea from Jamaica. She said that she didn't think that Caitlin was as good of a W player because we'd seen more from Angel outside the lines, discussing things outside the lines, talking about socio-political issues. And I think that's an interesting question, which I'm difficult to navigate because it matters. Like, we all know it matters, especially in this league where players have stepped up in so many ways. We see it from Breezy Turner every day, Elizabeth Williams on a regular basis. And so that's when I think you get into the question, which we haven't talked about, which also takes way more than a 30-minute conversation to discuss, is how much can and should that factor into how you carry yourself as an athlete and not just a basketball player. I know it's hard to toss that to
I'll take it. You only got the read instead of break. Nope.
Let's talk about that off the back end of this break. We'll take another quick break and then we'll get into that. And you guys can take as long as you want because I know like this is a pretty layered topic. So we'll get into that here. And I know we got to give a nice shout out over here to Sunnyside and a few other things. So appreciate that.
Sunnyside is sponsor of this show, and I'm Chris here from CHGO with Siobhan Beslow and Stephen Pridgey and Garner. Our friends at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary are here to elevate your summer, just like Angel Reese elevating for a rebounder, Kennedy Carter elevating for a finger roll. They're your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. They have a crazy selection at all of their stores with over 100 different strains to choose from with easy online ordering and in-store pickup, and I can guarantee that as I have used it myself. Shop in the store nearest you throughout the state of Illinois. That's in Chicago, that's in Champaign, that's in South Beloit, just by the border. For expert guidance from their staff, or select from quality lines like Cresco and Florical. And good time disposable vape is here for the summer, bringing that classic lemonade flavor that's perfect for the golf course, because we all need a little help staying loose on the green from time to time. So head to sunnyside.shop and use the code HICHGO. That's HICHGO at checkout for, again, 35% off those Cresco brands, good news, and more to elevate your first purchase. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every single day, only for ages 21 and over or Illinois medical card holders. CHGO is here.
Yep. Sorry, Chris. I was just going to give a quick shout out to CHGO Diehard. I don't mean to step on your toes. I was just going to get through this for you here real quick. No, you're good. For anybody that's new to the program here at CHGO Sky, obviously we cover all sports here in Chicago with the CHGO Bears, Blackhawks, Cubs, Bulls, White Sox, Red Stars, all the way across the board. Every sport you need here in Chicago, we are here to hold it down for all of you. And if you sign up to become a diehard, you get a free shirt right out the gate. We got a lot of real cool merchandise. In my opinion, the Sky logo probably is one of our best shirts you can get. So you can get that free right out the gate. Podcast live every single day on every team. Post-game, pre- and post-game shows, premium written content for all members at allchgo.com. 20% off events like tailgates and watch parties and draft parties and everything in between. Members only Discord for a little more nuanced conversation. You get off the mean streets of Twitter where all the crazy arguments are going on with fans, and have a little more of a educated conversation with fans that are truly passionate about the teams you love. So head to allchgo.com/diehard and become and sign up for one today.
Siobhan, you got us. I know you were, I timed that badly for the ad break, but you were saying when we were talking about the game and talking about players, not just inside the lines as it pertains to basketball, but what they talk about and do off the court as well. So please continue.
Yeah. So I think it's unfair to say that Caitlin's, and I won't even say unwillingness or inability, but the fact that she has had less to say outside the lines than like an Angel, all of the people. I think it's unfair to say it makes her less of a W player. Maybe she isn't as strong of an advocate as we've seen in the W, but it's uncomfortable. What is uncomfortable is that she frankly doesn't have to. You want our athletes. We want our athletes to speak on things and to take, kind of this moral high ground. And it sometimes is a little bit unfair. What I do think is fair of is, some of the stuff that has been said online, that has been said about her teammates, to her teammates, about the women of the W, about other W players. I think it's a little disingenuous to say like, oh, I don't know. I haven't been made aware. I don't know what's happening. Do I believe Caitlin spends her free time on Twitter? I don't. Do I believe that, Caitlin is just scrolling, looking for these topics and all of these things? I don't. Do I believe, though, that she has an awareness of kind of what has been the temperature of conversation largely stemming from people who consider themselves fans and advocates of her, you can't tell me that you are just wholly unaware of, right? I think that Angel, and so is the case of so many of the other women in the W. Angel's a Black woman. The women of the W primarily are Black women. There is a large queer faction of women, and historically, those have been the groups who not really don't have a choice, but who are more affected and are immediately affected by the things that a Caitlyn can say that she has no knowledge of. Like it's hard to navigate the world as a Black woman under a microscope, and to not speak about it. It's because at some point you lose yourself because you're not advocating, you're not asking for the treatment of yourself that you deserve. You're not treating yourself right at some point if you don't speak about how you are being wronged, I guess. And we've seen non-Black players do it. And I think that's what's drawn so much of the ire. We've seen Kelsey Plum, be loud and vocal about feeling like Asia deserves more, that the Black women of the W deserve more. We've seen someone as young as Paige gets it, and I think because we have examples of that we hope and expect the other people who would fall in a similar type of footstep would grab onto kind of that range and at least, and sometimes they do it and sometimes they don't. Maybe and sometimes they grow into it, right? Like sometimes you really aren't aware of what you aren't aware of until it happens. And as you get a footing, maybe you find a voice more, maybe you grow into those things, and maybe you don't. But I think it's unfair to hold that against her as with regards to her status as a W player. Caitlyn's a W player. She's here. She's going to be here. She will continue to grow. She's a high level offensive talent. She'll have all those things. But some of it has been a little unfortunate, and I commend Angel for taking all of it on that she has. Again, it's a tough thing that a lot of us tend to kind of fall into for survival's sake and out of necessity, but she's handled it well. She's still young. She's 22. She got the announcement of being named All-Star in the locker room the other day and just didn't speak, just had nothing, just covered her eyes. Like, she's still young, but she's handled it and has handled it well. So I appreciate her and the vets that she has, but that's the dichotomy of the lives. And sometimes you can hope for something different and it comes or it doesn't. But playing wise, I don't think that should affect Caitlyn's status as a W player. It might make things difficult, it might make locker rooms prickly, and that stuff matters, right? Like all of that stuff really, really matters. And so if it's a matter of smoothing things and, being good on that regards, maybe you do have to step into some of these things. But, Caitlyn's a W player. She's here and, she'll be here.
I think you said all of that extremely well. And I think the piece that really stands out is when you said that everybody kind of gets to that point. Well, some people never get to it. We can go ahead and say that. But some people take a lot longer to get to that point just because that's not where their focus is. Like you said, I don't think Caitlyn is just on Twitter just scrolling, trying to figure out what's the hot topic, what's being said. But I also, at the same time, can't say that she's completely unaware of the topics going on around the sport in which her occupation, persists in, especially with her predominance as an elite level talent and as an all-time level rookie that's coming into a league that's been anticipating her mark being stamped on everything. So I think, like I talked about on the last couple of episodes, Chris, the way that Angel wears her crown is so unique. To whom much is given, much is tested, and she very much wears her crown extremely well. On the side for Caitlyn, I think she leaves a lot more to be desired in terms of checking off that particular box. But like Siobhan said, as far as on the court, you can't hold that against her because the talent speaks for itself. The growth that we saw from her in the month of June speaks for itself, and she's going to be one of the best in the league. I mean, maybe by the end of next season, if not by the end of this season. So you can't hold those things against her, but you can acknowledge those things and say that you desire to see more from somebody with the crown that wears hers differently than Angel's, and her crown looks differently because she's a white woman and Angel is a black woman. You know, those as far as the dynamics and the reasoning and the urgency in which they operate with in terms of speaking to topics is going to be completely different. They're not the same in any capacity with that. And I think because of that, you have to kind of look at those things from a different lens. But I do think there's a responsibility off the court that comes with being one of the best players in the league. Angel wears that extremely well. You could look past both of these two and take it to A'ja Wilson, who wears her crown extremely well in the same capacity. So that's just kind of where I'm at with it. I think in time, Caitlin's going to be presented with, I'm not going to say challenges, but I'll look at them as opportunities to use her voice. And I think at those moments and times, we'll kind of be able to assess her leadership as taking steps to taking more ownership over things. Because like Siobhan also mentioned, there's a team dichotomy dynamic in that comes with silence versus speaking. And when you're playing with a team, there's always going to be a team that Caitlin's on, whether it's in Indiana or elsewhere. That team's makeup is not going to look like her. And there's going to be an onus based off of that because she's going to be the best player on most of those teams, if not all of them. So where they're going to be looking to see if she's speaking up on things. Is she taking a stance for us? Or is she kind of playing it by the wayside as she has in recent memory? That's going to come up. That's going to create some scenarios in terms of team chemistry from somebody that's arguably your best player, if not truly your best player, and the leadership that comes with that.
Well, and that's where when you talk about opportunity, you know, that's why I am interested to see them play as teammates, even if it is for one game. Everybody's going to be watching it. They've become such a lightning rod for conversation, and we get that it's a cultural engagement farming trick. It's a bait and switch. That's like a lot of people are being disingenuous trying to make something into this that it's bigger than basketball. Like you said, keep it to basketball. Well, a lot of people aren't doing that. There's political people jumping into this to try to trigger people in a certain way. And so that's why, like I saw Caitlin had a quote today, like, I know everybody's excited for me and Angel to play together, but I don't want it to take the focus off our other teammates too. So that's step one. To me, that's a good step to acknowledge your other teammates. You always do that. But then step two is I think these girls can own this moment. Yes, they're rivals when they face each other, but now they're teammates here. The game is supposed to be fun at the end of the day. We all come together because of our love of the game for basketball. And so the All-Star game is always supposed to be a fun atmosphere. You mentioned Joakim Noah and LeBron having a moment. If they have a moment on the court where they both make a play, you know, I think this is a moment where they can show everybody, okay, take your guard down for a second. Put your culture war to the side. This is basketball. They're competing, but we're not trying to, you know, rip each other's character apart, you know? And so I think they can try to own that moment there. But at the end of the day, we'll see. I mean, if they want to be rivals off the court and on the court, so be it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that either. I just don't know if that's the case for them. I think that's more for the fan bases that back both girls.
I think that's the interesting thing. And I didn't mean to have this turn into a chat where we were talking about the Angel Caitlin dichotomy again, but they're so linked at this point that it's hard not to. And that was just an interesting contention that Drea made on that space. I want to see how that develops because Siobhan, I think the point that you made about how that colors her interactions with her teammates is more salient because that leads to her legacy. That directly impacts her legacy as a professional. And so if her teammates, you know, depending on which way she goes, if they interact with her based on that, then that's what we're going to see down the line in terms of Caitlin Clark as a ball player.
I think too, and I know this could, like I said, be a bigger thing. Not necessarily trying to make it. I think that it's also a couple things, Stephen, you said, and Braggs, you too. So there is some aspect of some things keep it on the floor. But what I think is also uncomfortable is, like we just saw, these conversations quickly devolve into things kind of off of the floor. And because of the makeup of the W, it stands as kind of like a political presence. It's a predominantly Black, female, largely queer community, and that existence is a political existence, and it's difficult to grapple with if you are not in that community, because it seems like, oh, this don't have ish to do with anything, but it kind of does. Like it does. We can talk X's and O's and chase and go and veer actions. We can talk those things, but then it like it is very hard to just keep it on the court, because it is bigger than just on the court with the daily interactions, the things that like these women are going through, whatever happened at the Sky Hotel that with Kennedy, and what good or how big or not that was. These are things that happens, and it's just kind of difficult to grapple with. Brax, you were saying, they have a moment to kind of let their guard down a little bit, but and I ask you, like, what does that look like? Are we expecting, a Kaylin AR pick and roll? It's a conversion, are we waiting to see them kind of hug it out and like, oh, okay, cool, great, right, we're all good? Or a simple, cool high five and we just keep going? Like, maybe they do. Maybe there is a level of rivalry that maybe Angel doesn't want to let go. And I don't think that there's kind of anything wrong with it. We play this game, this All-Star game. We have a good time. I'm not disrespecting you. You're not going to disrespect me. We are teammates. At the end of the day, like, I'm cool with where my chips have fallen. I hope you're cool with, with where yours is. And, we go about our business.
100%. And people are going to pick it apart no matter what.
Whatever happens, exactly.
They can literally hug, take a picture, do everything they possibly could to change the narrative. And people will go, you see the way they side-eyed? You see the way she didn't high-five when they came in the huddle? She didn't even want to hug her for real. Yeah, it doesn't. There's no winning in this realm. Somebody's going to try to steer the narrative and cut a clip to fit whatever their agenda is for their clickbaiting, engagement stuff. That's the game on Twitter, social media, across the board. And that's why shows like this are so important, because, people that are truly passionate about it, that have been in the trenches covering these teams, passionate about this sport before the gravy train showed up here in the last year. And that's where everybody's chasing it. And that's what people are doing. So you just kind of have to acknowledge it and move on. But there was a question here we had from the chat. Our guy Jake Flanagan was in the chat asking, great stuff by all of you, and wants to know, is it true you had 19 rebounds in a college game? What do you remember about that win? Respect.
That is, I guess,
the true. Real you too.
Yeah, I'm hollering. I don't remember what game that was. I also had 11 offensive rebounds in one game. I don't remember what game that was either. And I've had more rebounds in some of my overseas seasons. I wish I could remember what game this is. Now you're gonna make me look it up.
It said it was against Howard in 16.
Oh yes! Oh my gosh, I do remember that game. We finished. So many people fouled out of that game. I think we finished that game with 4 people on the floor. I think they might have finished the game with 5 people on the floor. It was ridiculous. No, that was fun.
Hey.
Shout out to you.
They had the game like that one Laker game where Chris came and was stretched out on the bench because there was nobody else left.
No,
by himself out there like Will Smith on the last episode.
You better walk the ball up if you want to break. You're not coming out.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
No, but to your point though, to your
numbers, man.
Exactly. And to your point, you can't. The motor is. People like to talk about the flashy part of things being skill, but one thing you can't teach that effort and that motor. And when you have that, just as much as it is when you have a handle or a wicked crossover that somebody has to game plan for, you have to game plan for somebody that's never dying with their energy, because at some point you're gonna hit a wall. And when that person just has the same sustained level that's up here and yours gets to there, that gap there is competitive advantage. Needless to say, Siobhan knows that allows you an opportunity to step your identity over a game. And that's something that obviously you clearly can identify with. And that's something that Angel identifies with on a daily basis, because players don't want to box out every single possession when one of their teammates misses a shot. And Angel wants to grab every single rebound.
And you're going to have to start putting 2 bodies to that. And now you have 6'7" Camilla, and you have Kennedy who is jumping. Like at one point, my senior year, I was the number 6 offensive rebounder in the country. And I was seeing like 2-3 bodies on a box out. but we were still getting possessions because I had guards, swarming. And so it's the very same. You think you're pushing Angel under the basket and you got 2-3 bodies on her. She probably still gonna try to do that back bend and grab it. And if not, Camilla is right there and you're still in a tough spot.
And then the other big thing for me with that real quick, Chris. So imagine that context on a defensive rebound, the Sky are on defense trying to go for a rebound. Imagine that context, and this is something we've been seeing play out since Camilla made her insertion into the starting lineup in place of Elizabeth Williams. Speedy recovery to you. The fact that you have two dominant forces on the defensive glass as well, you have to account for that. And when you have to account for one, guess what? Both of those two run the floor as well as any other big not named Asia Wilson across the entire W, which leads to opportunities for them to get early steals and advantage and post-ups on the other side of the floor in transition. And that's something we're starting to see them get a little bit more of opportunity-wise. But to Siobhan's point, when you have to account for one of those two, if not both of them, with more than just one body, that presents an advantage for this guy going either direction. And that's something that they're starting to try to play into more. And I think that full circle, when we see these two have a team that's built around the talents that they have, we're going to see a team that plays to that identity that they present on a more consistent basis, if not by the end of this regular season.
Facts is all I have to say about that. Absolute facts. And we've seen Angel get double teamed on the defensive glass already. Like that was happening in like the 6th or 7th game of the season because teams realized that they had to keep her off the glass, and then she upped her defensive rebound production, and she was still getting the same number of offensive boards, which it keeps jumping out. Thank you for putting that graphic back up, Brad.
And look, her O boards came down 2/10.
Right, but it's it's still 4.5 plus per game.
Right.
Like she's still getting so many touches on the offensive glass. My friend Maya Goldberg Safir. I said Maya Moore, like Maya Moore was my friend. My bad.
Hey, I was about to say, hold on, why she ain't been on the show yet? Hold on.
I know. So that's a miss. That would have been a total miss. But my friend Maya Goldberg Safir was talking about the last points that she scored to get that double-double against the Aces, where she had to get that, she put the ball up, had to get it back again, put it up, got it back again. And there's 3 players on her at that point. Once you get the second offensive rebound, everybody's crashing the glass. And she still was able to get it back and get it up. And watching that, and somebody had a slow-mo cut of it, that's where the gracefulness of this comes in. It isn't readily apparent, even when you're in the arena. And for me, who looks at the game, who really likes looking at the aesthetics of the game, when you see stuff like that, it's really striking because it's a work rate that you have to be a good rebounder. You can't, you don't just box out. Sometimes you have to just go get the damn ball. But being able to get it back up off the glass in the midst of a lot of people, hands reaching, trying to foul you, trying to take the ball away, it's grace, and I think a working beauty to it that we haven't been able to really talk about because that's not the nature of what we do. It's we have to focus on the statistics. We have to focus on the game by game. But I know y'all already do because y'all are professionals. But anybody who's watching, listening, what have you, like really think and watch this when it's happening, while it's happening, because you're seeing something that statistically is great, but that aesthetically is very inspiring to watch. And that's what I really am taking stock of, having the chance to watch Angel Reese on a nightly basis, because you don't get to see things like that a lot. I watch Moses Malone clips, and people who don't know who Moses Malone watch him, and I'm very much reminded of what Angel's doing, and it had that same kind of personification in terms of just beautiful basketball.
Shout out to her.
Shout out to Angel. Shout out to Angel. I mean, if I kind of rounded out full circle, I had 3 quick things on Angel on this Angel-centric episode of our newest EP with the CHGO Sky. Defensively, we haven't talked too much about what she's doing on that end of the floor. I know we kind of scratched the surface level, but I feel like that could be a episode in and of itself. The Sky are 11 points better with her on the floor defensively than they are with her off the floor. And they defend at a rate that would be top 5 in the league when she's on the floor. The anchorship that she's provided, we talked a little bit about her versatility and being able to take on from DeWanna Bonner to Asia Wilson to Breanna Stewart to Jonquel Jones and everywhere in between. She can even switch with guards and hold her own and then some for 2 or 3 dribbles and potentially even pick the pocket of a guard out in space. What she's doing on defense is why she is so impactful comprehensively as a rookie. I think the offensive stuff definitely matters. There was a question about how translatable her scoring abilities would be to the W level, but I felt like she was already a borderline elite level defender just because of the activity with the hands in the post, the ability to chest up and guard without fouling, to play with the usage offensively, but also defensively with her guarding the best player on the court more often than not. Those little things really, really add up for her. That's the first thing I wanted to speak to was her playing on defense. Secondly, the play through contact. Asia Wilson leads the league in 2-point and ones this season with 16. Second to her is Angel Reese, with 13. And there's a little gap between the next players in succession from there. So for her to be playing so proficiently through contact, like we talked about in the open, and to kind of apply some statistical context to that to give an understanding of the realms that she's operating in across the league, it's impeccable. So I definitely want to get y'all thoughts on those 2 things. And then the last big thing for me, I kind of had this conversation with one of my cousins, especially looking at how my younger cousins kind of glow up when they see their big cousin talking with Angel or they see Angel on TV. I told my cousin that her gravity to the younger generations, especially for her being as young as she is, likens to what we saw from Serena Williams when she was coming up and she was going through the many adversities that come culturally off the pitch and off of the field and off of the court, depending on what surface they're playing on in the tennis realm of things. And for Angel to wear her crown the way that she does, and when she's in between those lines to still be that all caps dog that really has that gravity and leadership, I think it's really akin to some of the things that we saw intangibly wise with Serena Williams. And I definitely want to get y'all opinion on those 3 particular dynamics of everything that is Angel.
I think the defensive part. I think the defensive part, like you said, we talked a little bit about her, kind of in space, what she's doing within their defensive scheme as a team. She's a great help defender and she's a vocal defender. I've watched her push, and sometimes as a big 2, like you got to push your guard into, I need you through this screen. I need you up. I got this low corner. Like I need you. I've seen her like move Lindsay and Kennedy around. She's vocal. She's directing. She's speaking to Camilla and her timing. When they are attempting to execute a double, they're doing it for the most part pretty well. It's when the offensive player has initiated, has gotten into the spin, the back is to the oncoming second person, and she's there. And then she's getting back. I've watched her step up, take the short roll that's not hers, wait till her guard gets back, and then she gets back to hers. It's all of the individual defensive things, but within a team concept, she's a great help defender, and that helps, make everyone around her better. I forgot what your number 2 was. What was the second thing you said?
The second thing was playing through contact, the 2-point and ones.
She wants to bang. Angel is not a finesse post player. She's not athletic enough yet to be a finesse post player. She's not a twinkle toes kind of light presence. Angel wants to lower her shoulder. She wants to initiate the contact. I feel like she finishes better with contact. She finishes better when she can feel the threat of someone kind of around her. And like we talked about earlier, the conversion rate, right? Like getting to the free throw line is one thing and don't really, really matter unless you're kind of converting them. Yeah, you're getting in fouls. We're building up fouls. Maybe you're fouling defenders out, stuff like that. But, we're not reaping all that we could reap from this possession if you're not finishing. And she is. And then, yeah, man, culturally, like to little girls, like you said, you see this dog on the floor who's loud, who's vocal, who will talk her ish, right? Like, and has no problem being kind of talked back to and is going to play through it, yada, 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 off the floor. Pretty, feminine, like just exudes freaking Barbie, like to lean into the Barbie of it all. And you know, like she's really, really giving like little black girls. And I've seen little white girls in Angel jerseys. I've seen little white girls like want Angel's autograph and kind of all of these things. So just her importance to little girls, period. But I am going to keep it specific and say, you know, what she means to little black girls who want to maybe get involved, but have all of these like preconceived, really antiquated ideas of women's basketball and kind of what that means. She's come in, knocked all that out the gym. Her people like Dejanay Carrington, the lashes, the makeup, just the doggedness on the floor. So bringing it home like we began, you know, I don't think Chicago could have hoped to have gotten anything more out of her at 7 than what she has given them at 7 on the floor, in the locker room, culturally, for the city, for the larger kind of community. Rappers, Megan, Lotto, people just like her. You know, people want to like her. Lotto, courtside, white, Angel Reese. That's why I'm here. Don't even ask me. You know, but and she's handling it, and she's worthy of kind of everything that she's gotten. She's the crown that's on her head. She's earned. It's grown, but she's kept it solid and she's kept it straight. And you know, I hope she retires at Sky. It's her first year, and I hope that they do whatever they can to keep growing her from a skill development standpoint, because there is work there, but just embracing her. And you know, it feels like the city has fully embraced her too. And those rebounds, like being in Wintrust, so she'll miss one, get it. Fans recognize what it means to kind of go up, get a rebound, gets it, messes it up. Oh, damn. Okay, gets it again. Oh, and we're right back live. Like you ride the emotional kind of wave with her, and more often than not, it pans out, and you are happy to be rooting for this young lady. I'm more than happy to be rooting for Angel Reese. I am one of the loudest Reese's cups. Shout out to Team Reese's Pieces. Shout out to Sabria and your work there. But just, you know, we love it.
I think y'all are right. Y'all said it. That's going to take us to the end, because she's thankful she got to Chicago. Chicago's so thankful that that her and the team and the organization and the city reap the benefits of it. Because right now, the sports landscape in the summer is devoid, other than the Chicago Sky really energizing the people in and around Wintrust Arena. Thank you to everybody who tuned in with us. Appreciate everybody who dropped a comment in. Please hit the like button on your YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter, Siobhan Beslow at Siobhan Beslow. That's SIOBHANBESLOW, Siobhan with a B. And Steven at StayTrueS.3, always on ALLCITY.com, bringing you the latest and greatest in film and what this really means for the Chicago Sky team. And also, I am at Quandary Kitten. That's KWANDARY Kitten. And follow us at CHGO_Sky. Until next time, folks, be good, do great things, keep your head above the clouds. This has been a special episode of the CHGO Sky Show. Thank you once again, Siobhan, for coming on with us. And we got the balloons. Is it Steven's birthday? Are we doing this again?
I chucked up the deuces and triggered the balloons again. I forgot for a minute.
Is that what happens?
Every time.
Right, like I'm trying it too now.
Right, like why double click?
You know what, Steven? We're just gonna say every day is your birthday. Drop
that's
something
cool.
for Steven's birthday on his Twitter. Drop it in his Patreon. Send it to him.
I'll be screen clipping that one.
Thanks. For sure.
We all silly like the mayor.